Good morning. My name is Paul Corcoran. I've worked in the public sector for 37 years, mainly in higher education in Australia, and I've also worked in public sector jobs overseas in the Middle East. I guess my role here today is to talk about values and behaviours in public sector management, what it takes to be a professional, and the sort of, I guess, values and behaviours that as a manager or as a colleague in the public sector that I would expect people to demonstrate. We're fortunate in the APS that we state values that we expect all APS members to observe and to demonstrate. This is a very different scenario to when I first started, where we were recruiting people on the basis of functions and their ability to perform functions. Now we recruit people on the basis of their values and their ability to demonstrate those values in their work and in their interactions with other people. So the APS has come to distill values down to 5 key values that they recruit on and that they expect members to observe. The first one, unsurprisingly, is impartiality. When you think about it, in public sector management, we're required to provide impartial advice to government, impartial advice to senior managers, impartial advice to the community, and impartial advice to other key stakeholders. The problem is that when we go into a job, it's often because we have a particular passion for it. We have a passion for the role, we have a passion for the program, and yet here we are expected to be impartial. And it's actually really quite difficult, because you do get caught up in what you're doing. You do get caught up in what you see as being the right thing to do. So how do people demonstrate impartiality? Well, usually when we're advising government and advising the community, we have to take a step back, and we recruit people because of their ability to basically take that step back from what's actually happening in front of them and be able to say, I need to look at this coolly, I need to be objective, I need to assess what it is that I have in front of me according to basic principles and criteria, and be able to demonstrate to other members of my team, my supervisors, that I have been objective and that the recommendations that I'm bringing forward are based on evidence, are clearly aligned to the objectives of a program or a policy, and basically that I've taken myself out of the equation. And that really is a very difficult thing to do, and most of my colleagues and I, we struggle with that. The danger is that you go too far the other way, that you lose the passion for what you're doing. So impartiality doesn't mean that you stop feeling, but it does mean that you're much more careful about recommendations, you're much more careful about how you do things, and you think about it a lot more. So I think impartiality is probably a really big key and probably the main value in public sector management in Australia. The next value is a commitment to service. And I know that when I started, there was a very poor view of public services in general in Australia. People saw public servants as lazy, unresponsive, and it was recognised that there was that perception, and I think public services generally in Australia have worked very hard to develop a service culture in their organisations. A commitment to service is about being a professional, so this unit is about being a professional. Commitment to service in the public sector, in the public service, is a key value. How do we demonstrate that commitment to service? Well, we do it in a number of ways. First of all, we accept that we are going to act professionally, and therefore we need to continually train ourselves, improve ourselves. We need to learn how to do our job efficiently and effectively. So we have to reflect as a professional. We reflect on what we do and how we do it. We also get into a program of self-assessment. Where are my strengths? Where are my weaknesses? Where I have weaknesses, I'm going to try and identify training so that I can improve my performance in those areas. The other part of being a professional is in the way that we deal with people. And there is another key value, which is respect for other people. And that's a key in teamwork. It's a key in our relationships with other stakeholders. And given that in many areas of public sector life, we tend to deal with people who are at crisis points in their life, the ability for a person to be respectful of others and to treat somebody in a manner that they would like to be treated is very, very important for service delivery. So, respect for individuals. You'd appreciate that in public sector life we come in contact with a range of different people. And to be respectful of differences, to be respectful of the situations that people are in, to get some empathy with them, is a very important part of both service delivery and being a professional. It's being able to understand somebody else's point of view. The other aspect of that is that most work in the public sector is team-based. It's not all about an individual. It's very rare that an individual will have carriage of a piece of work. Work is normally accomplished by bringing together a range of different people with different skills, putting them together for periods of time, getting the work done, and then separating them again. An ability to be respectful of others and their differences is really a cornerstone of teamwork, and very, very necessary in the public sector. Another value is accountability. This is also part of being a professional, to be accountable for the work that you do, but I mean something more than that. It's about being accountable for funds, for other people's money. It's about being accountable for the decisions that you make. It's about being accountable for the decisions of other people. If you happen to be a manager, you have to be accountable for the work and the decisions made within your team environment. So it's very important that you understand the accountability aspect. And before I was talking about the old days in the public sector where there was a very poor perception of people who worked in public sector management. Well, part of that poor perception was based in a lack of accountability. It's almost like being hidden. You know, you're in the back room and you're making decisions. The rationale for that decision is never seen. Well, in an accountable environment, decisions are transparent. They're based on evidence. They're based on criteria, and everybody knows what those criteria are and why those decisions were made. So, for example, with a number of government programs that we look after, you'll find criteria published on websites. You'll find people's submissions against those criteria published on websites. You'll see the rationale for the final decision published on the website. This is a part of the APS being transparent, being accountable to stakeholders for the decisions that it makes.